Before we get into today's podcast, I just wanted to take care of a couple housekeeping items. First of all, I've never asked this before, but if you're enjoying the podcast and you've gotten some value out of it, please leave us a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcasts. That could be Apple, Spotify, or whatever else is out there. That helps us spread the word and grow the podcast. And as of now, it is the longest actively running moving industry podcast. And I think it also has the most episodes out of any moving industry podcast. So I'm very grateful for all of the loyal listeners to it and help spread the word there. And I also wanted to announce the dates for our upcoming Moving Titan retreat. It's going to be in Tampa, Florida on October 3rd and 4th, right after moving season this year. And we've got an amazing lineup of speakers. We may even have some surprise appearances by some people you might know, but we know for sure Tommy Mello is coming back for 2 days, and we've got some huge industry titans coming to speak, including Brian Slater, Stephen Reed, JC Caldwell with Black Tie Moving, Steve Kuhn, who helped get JK to be one of the largest independent moving companies in the country, as well as Larry O'Toole. He will be back. And then Sean Crane is going to be coming back by popular demand as well. And somebody that I'm really excited about is Lenny Gray, who we recently did a podcast with on door knocking for the moving industry, among many others. And again, we are still lining up guests, and there will be likely some surprises. So don't miss the next Moving Titan retreat. We have early bird pricing in effect, and prices go up every month leading up to the retreat. So it's going to be $19.97 if you wait. But right now you can get it for at least 50% off. So that's through May. Now after May, it's going to go up again. And then eventually it'll get to that $19.97. So lock in your tickets now so we can get a head count. And the more people that sign up with the early bird specials, the more really cool guests and exciting things we can do like has never been done in the moving industry. And then finally, go check out Tighten Up Training. We're heading into summertime, and movers are going to be getting hired across the entire industry. As we all know, those are high turnover rates. You get busy as the owner or as a manager in your moving company, and Tighten Up Training is the solution to streamlining the onboarding. We've got over 200 videos in there shot with Netflix grade quality, and there's quizzes you can assign and track, and it's even gamified to where people earn points for watching videos over and over again, where they can earn badges, have contests with your team. There's also all the Andy Elliott sales training videos in there, as well as a bunch of marketing and leadership videos that we created. And we're going to continue to add content. It is the #1 online training program for the moving industry. So don't get behind your competition, because if you don't buy it, competition will. It's going to make your moving season much, much easier with a finally reliable, high production value online moving training course. So check out tightenuptraining.com today. Now let's get into the episode. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. I'm Wade Sweikel, and I'm pleased to be joined today, live and in person, by Steven Mandac, who is the owner of Clutch Moving and Storage based in the San Francisco Bay Area. He is in town this week for the Moving Titan retreat, as well as another mastermind program that he's involved in. And just really honored to have Steven here at the office today. Thanks for coming over today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on here. I actually listen to all the podcasts, so I'm happy that I'm actually on the podcast and that you're interviewing me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You put out a lot of content. I think I first heard about your company probably, I might have been like 2 years ago, with just some of the funny videos, some of the skits, some of the content that you've been putting out for a while now. Faith, who actually runs Moving Titan Retreats now, is the one who pointed that out to me. She's like, you need to connect with this guy. Like, he's doing all kinds of stuff in like the influencer space for moving company owners. And there's not a lot of like influencers in the moving industry. There's some people now trying to become the influencers, but the landscape just shifts. But I guess, we'll talk about that and what that's done for your business. I guess tell me your story. Like, how did you get into the moving industry and how did you get going with what you're doing today?
Yeah. So the moving industry, I actually Took over the company in 2019. The company was founded in 2017. Before that, I owned a tax firm. So I had my C-Tech license and I was doing taxes. But let's go a couple of years before that. So I actually did sales. So I was one of the guys inside of the cell phone malls trying to sell a phone, saying you dropped your phone or something like that. Something funny along those lines. One of the kiosk guys. So was working there for, I don't know, give or take about a year or so, and then graduated, moved up to corporate. So I worked at Sprint Corporate, and I really liked working there. Looking back at it now, because it taught me a lot about systems, and also taught me a lot about processes, and most importantly, it taught me more about sales, and also just kind of understanding people, because you're dealing with a different customer every single day. So I'm super happy that I worked in there. Then from there, I got into the tax firm. Was doing that for about a year and a half. I basically licensed a tax firm company, and I came to find out I didn't really like doing it. It was kind of boring, sitting behind a desk all day, crunching numbers and everything like that. I did make a little bit of money. And then from there, after I made the money, I invested into the company because my buddy came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to start a junk hauling and moving company at first." And I said, "Cool, let me go ahead and be the investor." I went to U-Haul. I got approved for 3 trucks. And then when I got approved for the 3 trucks, I don't know why, the salesman just sold it to me, and he was like, "You're approved for 3 trucks." So I bought all 3 trucks.
Wow.
And then from there, I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't even have any of the trucks on the road. We didn't have any commercial parking passes or anything like that. So we parked them on residential. We're getting tickets, and we didn't really know what we were doing. Fast forward, I think that was about, we bought them in 2016. We incorporated the company in 2017. Me and the business partner at that time, because we weren't making any money essentially, and I was still having to pay this truck note, also insurance and everything like that. So I was like, "Look, let me go ahead and take over the company." I kind of booted out my friend at the time, bought him out for something ridiculously low, maybe like $1,000 or something like that, and then grew the company from 2019 all the way to on this year. We are on pace to do $4 million.
Wow, that's awesome. And where were you guys at in 2019, like revenue wise?
2019, we're at like 100,000.
Wow. So you've pretty much built the entire thing at the end of the day. I mean, you've built up that business from next to nothing, really.
Pretty much, yeah. And I give a lot of credit. When I was, looking online, I found Louis Massaro, and then took his classes, bought his courses, and everything like that. And that helped me really build a foundation of growing the company.
That's awesome. Lewis has helped my business a lot too. I found him probably right around the time you were taking over that company or getting involved with it, 2018 ish. And yeah, I mean, his stuff was game changing, at the time. And I think there's still a lot of the stuff that we use today from his sales processes and just some of his insights and philosophies. When did you get started with like the social media stuff? Because you've got a lot of followers for both the moving company and your personal brand, and you put out a lot of content. Like, was that kind of right away, or did that take a while?
Yeah. So I actually I think it was 2021, I, restarted social media. I had a personal page, and then I hired a social media marketing company, and they kind of shot my first videos. And that's when I started. What one thing that I learned from there was that they didn't really represent me how I wanted them to represent me and convey out the message. I think they were kind of new, and she had a lot of clients at the time. So I stopped. And then I took a break, and I really started going all in, I think 2023 September. And then I was just going all in. I bought all the equipment. It was cool though, because my operations manager at the time, he was in theater, so he also did content himself. I didn't really know this until we spoke about it at one of our meetings. He's like, we should do some content, maybe get some more leads that way, because September, October, November, December was super super slow. So we thought that was a way to kind of generate leads. So I went hard in September, and yeah, just been going hard ever since.
That's awesome. What has that done for the business? I mean, do you get a lot of leads from the community? Like, what benefits have you found from posting so regularly?
First and foremost, people know who you are as far as like you're posting constantly. So like if someone's in the back of your head about, trying to book with you. So I have a lot of realtors that follow me. So I'm always staying top of mind on there. And then what it's done for my business, it's done a lot. I didn't even know what it was going to kind of roll into. But connections, I met you on Instagram,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you kind of reached out to me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And then I met a lot of people through Instagram as well too. But there's a different roadmap that I'm actually wanting to use social media for. I'm looking to use social media. Kind of said this from the very beginning. I want to use it to scale. And also, there's like not a lot of people in social media as far as like in the moving industry. I've always said it from the very beginning. It's like a old man's business. People are kind of on the digital side, so I want to have a footprint there, and then really grow that so I can use it to scale my company.
No, I mean, that makes total sense. And you're doing a great job. I mean, I love watching your content. A lot of the stuff is so relatable and just funny, to see you do. Did you always have such a big following going into the moving business, or like, how did you grow your following? Because I think you have like over like 50,000 followers
Yeah.
now on your personal account. I think you've got pretty close to that with your business account too.
Yeah, so what we do is we actually on some of the posts, what we do is we boost some of the posts. So like
Um,
on let's just say the most recent one, which was did really well, which was what was it? The David Goggins one.
oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that one did really, really well. So what we do is we go ahead and we boost a post. And when you boost a post, like if you're like scrolling and you have selected interest on there, then it'll pop up on the feed. And when it pops up on the feed, people go to your profile and they follow you because they want to see more of that content. So grew it like that. I've invested a lot of money in content just by boosting the posts because people see my content everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have like a specific strategy now that, has maybe evolved since you first started posting content on there? Like, how do you come up with the ideas? Like, walk me through kind of like your thought process, like your creative process.
Yeah, so there's a roadmap that we kind of have going along with it. So we're looking to probably the roadmap is about a year. So first and foremost is getting everybody to understand who I am, and getting out there first. And then the next thing is that people understand me as a leader in the industry because of the information that I'm giving out.
Yeah.
And then when I'm doing that, the next step is to use it to scale, essentially, where it's like I use it and maybe another person in another state or, wherever it is, they may want to partner with me and open up a clutch moving or something like that in another state or something like that. Almost like the Alex Ramosi approach where he kind of gives out free content and then he says businesses that are doing over a million EBITDA partner with him or he wants equity in their company.
Yeah, I was just about to say it reminds me of a lot of the Alex Ramosi like teachings that he has in his books, which the $100 million leads and the $100 million what's the other one? There's leads and is
I
it,
forgot what the other
it's
one
not
is.
sales. Anyway, our offers, $100 million
Yeah,
offers.
yeah,
That's his first one. Yeah, yeah. So I know he's working on a sales one, but I've started following him not too long ago, maybe about a year ago,
yeah.
and I like from his books and stuff like that. He kind of talks about his process where he'll just record like a whole bunch of content, like one day a month, and then just over the course of the month he'll put it out. And he's big on like manually posting things because sometimes he'll add fresh ideas to it and the captions and the hashtags, and he just puts more thought into it when he manually goes and puts them out. But he records a lot of that stuff all at one time. Is
Right.
that similar to what you do, or do you just do it every day, a little bit, a
Yeah.
little bit?
So there's a perception that people think that I'm like just shooting content 24/7, but really I'm shooting content maybe like 4 or 5 hours a week. It took me a little bit longer in the very beginning because I would always like stumble over my words and I didn't know what to kind of come up with. And my videographer would try to coach me through the process, but it's gone down to about 4 to 5 hours a week. And then in that time frame, we're probably shooting anywhere from like 4 to 6 clips. And then podcasts are about an hour. And then out of a podcast, we can clip out like, I don't know, anywhere from like 5 to 7 clips of good moments. So it doesn't take too much to really shoot content. A lot of people get this perception that, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to have the best camera and everything like that. Like I was saying earlier, some of my best posts have came from my actual iPhone camera. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got away for several years, like, I mean, up until recently, like just basically doing Zoom recordings with guests on the podcast. Sometimes we'd meet in person and literally just pull out the phone and put the microphone in the middle of us and just have a conversation. So, like, it was all about the content. It
Yeah. The
wasn't so
content.
much
Yeah.
about like the production value. And we've upgraded a few things, we got these microphones and stuff now, but it's still pretty basic stuff. I mean,
Right.
what I've found is like simplicity trumps like digital equipment and all the stuff. Like it's really, I see this all the time, like in not even just moving, but also in moving. people go out and they buy like $10,000 worth of equipment. They'll get the nicest microphones and the best lighting and the nicest camera, and then they never do anything with it.
Right.
And the key, I think, is just getting content out, and then you can add to it over time, and it becomes like a hobby.
Yeah.
But I think so many people just get like these starry eyes with all the equipment, and they think they're going to go off and do it, and then they just don't. That's unfortunate, because everybody, I feel like, has something to say.
Yeah, I think the first step is really just getting in the motion and the groove of it. Because when I first started, and I was looking at some of my old content not too long ago, and I was like, oh man, like, some of the things like, and like my facial expressions and everything like that. I was like, oh no, now it's really improved now looking at the content I'm posting out now. But back then, the content, I think it was still good, but there was a couple of things that I could have worked on, or at least my editor could have done to make some of the content look a little bit better. But, with anything, as time goes on, you get better and it gets easier.
Yeah. Most of you have heard me talk about Moversville and the power of their email marketing service that has helped us increase leads by over 112% over the last year. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services and lists like insurance providers, softwares, equipment suppliers, marketing sources, and much, much more. The best part? This resource is free. Go check out Moversville Connect today by going to moversville.com and clicking Connect. That's moversville.com and click Connect and discover the world of Moversville beyond email. One of the worst parts about owning a moving company has to be finding quality movers and drivers. Trying to run all the job ads takes up time, and then you schedule guys to come in for interviews and they never show up. It's a massive headache. Well, let me tell you about a good friend of mine named Winston who runs a company called Move Up Consulting. Move Up specializes in hiring and recruiting for the moving and storage industry, and they do all the lead generation for mover and driver candidates. They have a fully built hiring CRM, plus you get a dedicated account manager who phone interviews and screens all of your candidates. Once they find qualified candidates, they schedule in-person interviews for you and your management team so you can make great hires. They even handle all the appointment confirmations. It's that simple. To start building a better moving team today, visit moveupconsulting.com and tell them Wade sent you. Want to know what the silver bullet for growing your business is? USA Home Listings. USA Home Listings has a myriad of marketing services that are essential to every single moving company. It blows my mind when I have conversations with people who reach out looking for help, trying to get leads, trying to get the phone to ring, that aren't doing mailers and aren't subscribed to USA Home Listings. The data there is so invaluable, and it's not just home listing data, even though that's an awesome, super easy, super intuitive feature that they provide where you can filter out all of the homes that recently went under contract or got listed in your neighborhood, and a new coming soon feature before it even hits the MLS that you can filter out through zip codes, towns, cities, counties, prices. But that's just one small feature that they do. They also have turnkey mailing services. They'll help you design your postcard, a postcard that actually gets results. If you've tried mailers in the past and it didn't work, it's probably because you didn't have the right elements on your postcard. And they also have a social media division. So check out usahomelistings.com. It's an essential addition to all of your marketing needs. Before you do any other marketing, check out usahomelistings.com. Well, if you go back and look at like some of Hormozi's first posts, or we're going to see Andy Elliott here in a few days, Tommy Mello, like look back at like some of their YouTube channels and like listen to some of Tommy's early podcasts. I mean, Andy Elliott is like a totally different person now than he was like 5 or 10 years ago when he first started posting those videos. It's like almost funny to see it because of the transformation, not only in like his self, but also in just the production quality. Now he's got whole teams, full-time. I think he has like 6 full-time people that just do his media stuff, because he's just everywhere now, and he's getting millions and millions of followers, and they're just racking up. We were out there, I think it was in September, October, when like first started working with him on the retreat stuff and the Tighten Up training program that we're going to be announcing here soon. And they had just hit 500,000 followers on Instagram, and like Andy had to go out of the room and like take a picture. I think now he's over 3 million, and that was in the course of like 6 months. So it's just been wild just watching his growth just like skyrocket. And of course, he's gone viral for several different things at this
Yeah,
point. But
yeah.
have any of your posts like really gone viral yet? You
I
mentioned the
mean,
David
the
Goggins
David
one.
Goggins one did really well. It's still getting a lot of traction now because people are probably resharing it, and people are watching it, so it's getting shared around. And then also the other one that was funny was the We're Movers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
That
one.
was a
That one.
trend for a little while there.
Yeah, that one was funny. But I think more so the main thing is I'm not really worried about going viral or anything like that. What I'm looking to do is just provide value as far as what I'm posting out. Also, be myself, right? I'm naturally a funny guy, high energy, and I just be myself, and I have fun with it because a lot of the times people don't have fun with the content that they're shooting, and it does take up energy when you're producing content because you got to go over and you have to you stumble on some words and everything like that. So at the end of the day, I have fun with it. I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, I see so many people that are just like told that they need to put out content
Yeah.
or like they're told they have to like do a podcast because that's what the Gary Vaynerchuk's and whoever
Right.
else say, but they're not in it. They don't have like a very good reason why they're doing it. There's like not really any coordinated, organized effort behind it. It's kind of just like, they're doing it because they feel like they have to do it because that's just the world we live in now. But I feel like the people that have success with things are people that enjoy doing it. They have fun with it. It comes second nature to them. They do it for a reason, like to learn. Like I started off with this podcast just to learn how to run a moving company because I
Right.
was just like at my wit's end trying to figure out, before Louis Massaro and everything else, like what are the people? There's clearly people in this business that are succeeding. Like what are they doing to succeed? And it's just been an awesome, just master's degree basicly in moving, which is
Right.
one of our slogans, coincidentally. But just hearing from the people that were exactly where I was when I started, and they'd grown 8-figure businesses at this point, and I'm still learning.
Right.
Having people like you on, having other experts in their field. It was in the beginning just moving company owners, and it's kind of branched into just like people that I want to learn from. And the podcast serves as like a calling card to be able to have these conversations with people that I might not otherwise get to have, with Andy and Tommy and everybody else. So what's the name of your podcast again for the listeners?
Moving forward podcast, and I can relate to that as well too. With my podcast, at least, it's not solely based around moving company owners. It's based around entrepreneurs, and you could kind of get something from every single one of these interviews and conversations that you have. And a lot of people they love to be interviewed. They like to talk. And I never realized that people love to talk about their business and they like to talk about how they their upbringing and everything like that. And it's also good to hear these stories. Like I've came across a couple of people that I didn't really know their story. I just knew that they had a business and everything like that. And then when I heard their story, I was like, wow, that's a great story. And like, you rose into the top, and just the people that you meet and the relationships that you build at the end of the day.
100%. There's been so many people that I've interviewed that like I didn't really know going into it. They might have reached out and asked to do an interview, or maybe somebody connected us and I was like, all right, yeah, we'll see. Like I kind of went into it like, is this a waste of my time? I don't know, but I always pull nuggets. Like
Right.
everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got their own personal experiences. Everybody's got a story to tell, and it doesn't matter what business they're in. Most of them somehow in one way, shape, or form revolve around business or the moving industry. But sometimes just talking to just random people that have any kind of just life experience, it opens up your mind a little bit. And I always end up, some of the guests that I'm not sure how they're going to go. By the end of it, I'm like, wow, like I'm really glad I did that.
Right.
Like very rarely am I not happy I did an episode with somebody because there's always something.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I could say the same thing because like in the beginning, I was like, maybe I was a little bit afraid to kind of ask people to get on the podcast because, it was my first one. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was like, stumbling over my words and not knowing what questions to ask. But after, the first 5-10 minutes, things start to flow and you're just like, okay, cool. And then you really start to vibe with the person and really understand them. And, the questions come genuine. The questions that you start asking them come more genuine. Like I was asking you before that I came on here, and then you were like, "Oh yeah, we just free flow and everything like that." And I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah."
Yeah. I try not to like come in with too many preconceived questions or ideas because you might just say one thing that we weren't even thinking about that just like sparks interest.
Right.
And I ask questions that I'm genuinely interested in that I can affect with my business. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. And it's opened up a lot of opportunities too, because like, I would have never gotten to talk to Tommy Mello, and we wouldn't
I've
be
seen
having
that.
him in an event, and like Andy and all these other people, and just the connections that I've been able to build and the doors that have opened from it have been worth it. And I
Yeah.
didn't know where I was going to go with it when I started. I just wanted answers to like what people were doing in our industry that was working. I can relate. Like, I wasn't sure if they were wanting to talk to me or like put this out into the world to hear. Like, why would a moving company owner want to share their secrets so that their competition could hear?
Right.
But there's really no secrets in this business, I've
Yeah.
learned. I mean, there's definitely things that we can learn and different takeaways, but it's all about implementation at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And just like making content, if you're not going to be consistent with it, I think that's also something that holds people back from making content is like they think it's just one of those things that it's going to be a flash in the pan. Like, I'm going to do some stuff, I'm going to embarrass myself, and then I'm not going to keep doing it. But if you keep doing it, you can't lose. Like,
Yeah.
and then it's just funny to go back and look at those early ones that, whether they're social media videos or podcasting or whatever it is. And if you just stay consistent, you'll naturally get better at it. And you won't regret those early days once they're behind you. And you've proven to yourself that you can stay consistent with something.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think consistency is key, especially with content. And what we typically do is we shoot a bunch of content, like, we'll have like 5, 10 things stacked up, and then we'll just plan it out for like the week, just so we have something to post on there. We're always staying top of mind, whoever's following us and everything like that. So a lot of people think that, you got to just have your phone on you all the times and just shooting things and everything like that. Now it's like, it's really planned out. And then what I came to find out that, you just stack up the content and then you can just start posting.
Yeah, you just build it into your calendar. I
Yeah.
mean, even if you just do 15 minutes a day, or if you'd rather just block it out and do a few hours one day and then you're set for however long after that. I mean, we can pull a lot of nuggets out of these podcasts and stuff. So it kind of comes naturally with some of that content when you're just having a conversation with somebody. But you just block off your time on your calendar to do it. And it's like brushing your teeth every day. You do a little bit towards that goal. And I found it really helpful to have like a outsourced producer for stuff. Because
Yeah.
then I can focus on the fun part,
Right.
like talking to you or talking to any of the guests. I don't have to worry about like trimming the audio and uploading it and
Right.
all that
So were
stuff.
you doing that before?
I've been doing that for a while. Yeah.
Oh, so you did it yourself?
In the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. I did everything myself. And I tried to put out a podcast every single week for like probably at least the first year or two. Like,
Uh-huh.
and so there were quite a few episodes in the beginning because it was just like when I started my moving business, like a lot of people doubted me as like a 21-year-old kid that I would actually stick with a business that I started,
Right.
because a lot of people start a business or they say they're going to start a business or they get the process started and then they just don't stick with it long enough to see any sort of success. And so I was determined to prove those people wrong in the beginning and say, no, this is like what I'm doing. Like everybody's like, go get a job. Like, you just graduated college. Like, all my friends are getting these corporate jobs.
Right.
And like, I'm just loading trucks and still on the trucks for way too long. And just dealing with all the BS that comes because I didn't have any of the resources that are available today. There was no Louis Massaro. There's no conferences or retreats geared towards moving company. There are no podcast, YouTube channels really. And I just had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own and go through a lot of shit.
Yeah. What has the podcast done for you essentially? Because I know that every person I speak to, they know about Grow Your Moving Company podcast, and like I've really listened to every single one.
Wow.
Like, what has it done for you?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I've just learned a lot. Like we just talked about, like I've learned from every single speaker that has come on. I've gotten all kinds of fresh ideas, but it's also just helped me build a really strong network in our industry. And I was like you when I started off, I thought moving was just this old crusty man's game that had all these people that were just, crooks and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to be like a traditional mover. Like
Yep.
I didn't even think I wanted to like be a like real moving company. I thought I wanted to be like a labor company that hired college students and like had this fun brand. And then I realized like there's no money in that. Like if you want to make money doing this, you have to become like a residential, commercial, long distance type mover. Not necessarily, all three of those things. You don't have to be. I know a lot of local companies that do really well, but yeah, it's just opened up a lot of doors. It's given me access to people that I would never, have the ability to really pick their brains and learn from. We've been able to build the Moving Titan Retreat, which started off with like 15 people in an Airbnb, and we've just steadily grown it over the last 2.5 years. And now we're going to have like 250 people together and like some big name speakers with high caliber production value that I feel like from doing the podcast, it's opened up a lot of those opportunities.
Mhm.
And it's just established credibility in the industry for our local businesses
Yep.
too. Both of my franchise partners that I currently have found their way to me originally through the podcast. First one listened to the podcast and ended up coming to one of our early retreats.
Mhm.
And then we ended up hitting it off and working together. And he ended up getting involved with our franchise organization. And then the second one, same thing. He said he listened to every episode. He was working in the HVAC space. He had started a moving company like 6 years ago, just like a small little company that was doing mostly like deliveries and smaller jobs. And then he got a job in the HVAC industry. And he's like, man, I want to go back and do my own thing. I want to get into the moving industry. And he found the podcast and reached out and we hit it off. So yeah, it's basically responsible for the franchising and the retreat business. And it's connected me with a lot of really cool sponsors
Yeah.
that have opened my eyes to products that I'd otherwise never known. And I've beta tested several, like Live Switch. We were one of the early adopters on that. Right
Because of
now,
the podcast.
because of the podcast, Come Home AI is another one. It kind of like gets me in with some of the decision makers at those companies. If there's
Uh-huh.
like a feature that I want, or smart moving, we've got a really good relationship with Toby and his team over there. So Moversville, and so it's just open doors at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and it establishes local credibility too. Like
It does.
when I can tell customers, or when my salespeople tell customers, or the movers, or whoever, say, yeah, the owner has this industry podcast, the longest actively running industry podcast, because I started the podcast before Lewis did.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably the second longest, but he did his consulting thing before he got into the podcast space, which I always wondered, like, why aren't you doing a podcast? That would be perfect for what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's it's something that they can say and be proud of too. And I think it helps attract talent and recruit people to our organization too when they find out about it.
Yeah.
Have you found that, like, do your movers listen to it, or have you found that, like, what do they think of all the content? I'm sure they have to follow you.
Yeah, a lot of them do follow me. They actually really do like it. And there's the culture that I have there. Like, people are happy to be in the content. Like, they like to talk on there, and like, I like that, and they understand what the vision is though. So like, they know that I'm shooting content because there's a bigger picture to it. So they're happy. They're thumbs up in some of the content, all the pictures that they take. A lot of the pictures that are posted on my Clutch Moving Instagram, it's all from the movers.
Nice.
So they take it on their phone. We have our WhatsApp group chat, and they just all send photos, pictures, and everything like that, and they just have fun with it. So it's more of a culture thing.
I love that. It's like the content creation like bleeds over to the rest of the culture and the team, and it inspires them to hopefully either create their own content for something else,
Yeah.
and maybe open up some opportunities there, or promote your own brand.
Yeah.
I know of at least one other podcast that has started because they were inspired by this podcast too, which is really cool to see. And it was funny because I was just talking to him. I think it was one that you were actually recently on, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Movified.
Yeah.
He reached out and he was like, "Man, I was a little nervous, that you might think I was trying to, like, compete with you." I'm like, "No, man. Like, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
like the more people that can create these resources that I can listen to, because I can't stand my own voice. Like, I don't listen to any of my own podcasts usually, unless it was like
I don't either.
all our guests that, like, I just like need to take notes and stuff and nuggets out of. Otherwise, I can't like stand listening to myself.
I know what you mean.
Now I can listen to somebody else talk, and I can listen to you, and I can listen to a lot of the guests that I have, and they get asked different questions. I'm like, I didn't even think to like ask those questions. So I love it. I think if anybody's listening to this, you're thinking about a podcast, like, don't be discouraged by thinking you're going to compete against us, because the more content, the more stuff that people can have, the more resources they can have, it's just going to lift up the industry. And it just fits really well into like the ecosystem that we're building. Like, we've got podcasts, now we've got the Titan retreats, we've got the training program that you'll hear more about in a couple of days. We've got, the franchising side of the business. Like, people are like, isn't that distracting? Like, you're doing too many things. And like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm doing too many things. I've got a lot of irons in the fire, but it's all part of this like bigger picture, like this ecosystem that we're creating to ultimately just, help other people succeed too.
I agree. Also, it's a huge ecosystem, and also it's for brand awareness as well too. So like you were saying it earlier, as far as the two people found you from the podcast to your franchise and everything like that, but it also creates social proof, because the people that you're having on your podcast and everything like that, like, social proof, and you got this guy on there and everything like that. So it just elevates, your company.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. What else have you done to grow your business like 40x since you took it over? Like
Yeah.
40x in 4 years. Like that's pretty impressive.
So a lot of things that I do a lot of outbound marketing. I also run a lot of like because I'm really big into videos. So like we have a lot of Facebook campaigns with targeted audiences. One thing that we really capitalized on was our realtor affiliate program. And we really got that spinning. I think right now we have close to like 1,000 affiliates
Wow.
and they're referring consistently. And our offer is pretty good on there. So that does really well on there. And then also our interior designers. So we use the system. It's called Apollo.io. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Mm-mm.
So it's like a CRM, but it's for outbound prospecting.
Oh,
So what
interesting.
you can do is you can actually, first and foremost, understand what audience you want to target. And then for us, it's going to be property managers, interior designers, senior home marketing managers. And we take that information because you can look it up in there, extract it from a CSV file, cold call them, and then we run it through like a couple other systems where we do cold email, we do slide text, which is a text message campaign, and we also cold call them. So I'm really big on that, and I really push out my sales reps to make those dials and then set up those meetings. And then when we set up the meetings, they get onto the account manager, and the account manager closes them either to become an affiliate or work with us as an interior designer. So that's really how how I know as far as looking at my numbers and my KPIs that we really grow the business.
I love that. That's been a huge focus of ours with the business outreach, the business development over the last several months since interest rates went up and just kind of the organic inbound stuff, has dried up. I
Yeah,
mean, direct mail used to be our number one source of new business, and now it's like 4 or 5 on the list,
right.
with affiliates being number one now because we did do all that biz dev stuff. Like I don't use Apollo IO. I've heard of, is it similar like Zoom Info
Yeah,
or
it's
like,
just like Zoom Info. It's their
okay.
competitor.
Okay, cool. We've mainly looked on Google and like directories with like the builders associations, the realtors associations, and we built out a spreadsheet of realtors, property managers, senior living, flooring companies, restoration companies, all the different potential referral partners. And every day during our morning sales huddle, we assign a new contact for a salespeople or somebody in our office to reach out to. So it's like that compound effect over a year.
Yeah,
You've reached out to thousands of people. And, if 10% of those people ever even get back to you, you're still hundreds of new referral partners that you've collected. But, if you continue to follow up with those people, you can get that up to much more than that.
exactly.
And you can add them to your email list, cold call drop ins, connect on social media, DM them. I found that's a great way to meet people and get them to pay attention to you because everybody's inboxes are bombarded. Mail them something. I came up with this business idea recently. Do you know what BarkBox is? Do you have a dog?
I do not.
Okay, so BarkBox is this concept where you pay like you can pay for the year up front or a monthly subscription, and they send you a box every month that has a theme to it, and it's like got toys and treats in it to give to your dog. And I was like, man, like what if there's like a BarkBox for business where you could sign up your referral partners to this automated turnkey delivery system where they were getting like, something different each month. And I told my friend about it, and he was looking at starting a business himself. And I was like, dude, I've been having this idea for a long time. I just do not have any time to start any more businesses. I got too many things going on. So you could have the idea. I don't need any royalties or anything. I'll be your first customer though. I'll beta test it for you. And so we started it. It calls it C Suites.
Uh huh.
And basically we give him a list of referral partners, and we do it like quarterly. So after three like care packages, basically they get sent to them. Uh, After basically 90 days, we see, okay, have any of these people sent us any business back? And if they haven't, or if they haven't reached out to connect, then we'll take them off and put somebody else on the list. And they source everything locally. So like this last month, it was like popcorn and like I think like olive oil or something like that. Like something that, consumables are good because everybody has a use for that. And it just
Yeah.
makes it easy to work with local vendors if they'll set up supplier relationships at a discounted rate, like wholesale almost. So he's currently in the process of growing that. I've helped him, some business side of things. Hopefully that takes off. But we're currently using that service to just send little care packages to either existing referral partners that we want to stay front of mind with and maintain a relationship with, or brand new referral partners that we're trying to get in front of and get their attention for. And so that's, time will tell if it's successful or not. But
Are you kind of like when you say the referral partners, are you like kind of ingraining that into them, or are you just making the connection and like, building a relationship from there?
it's mostly about making the initial connection. So I don't know if you heard the story. I think I've talked about it on the podcast about how we first met Tommy Mello,
Pizza.
the pizza trick.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that was Chad's idea. Basically, we sent a pizza to his office. We took out a slice, and we called this in and told him to take out a slice and write on the box, "We're the missing piece to your home service empire," or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And like we had been cold calling and like reaching out to his assistants and trying to, and just it all went ignored, or maybe they responded and said, "Yeah, we'll revisit this in the future." And then when we sent the pizza to his office, like I got a phone call from one of his top assistants, and like the next day, and she's just like, "We were so impressed by this. Like, we'd love to do a podcast," which led to him now speaking, and
Yeah.
so we've connected a few times since then. But that was kind of the where the C suites idea was born from, because it was
Ah,
just creative.
yeah.
Anything you can do creative to get in front of your customers besides cold calling and sending them an email that shows a little bit of effort will usually get somebody's attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kind of add on that, a lot of the times, like, with cold calling and then also the emails, we'll actually drop in and we'll also try to just schedule like a lunch and learn.
Yeah,
So lunch and learns have been really well. I think I'm actually going to make a video on this, like a ROI on a lunch and learn, because I think the last month we did like 6 or 7 lunch and learns,
nice.
and then the return that we got on that is super high. Building the connection once you go in there, it's always good to put a face to the voice and the company and everything like that. So that's helped out a lot.
Yeah, we try to schedule those at least a few times a month with the broker, mainly realtor brokerages. Is that who you do them primarily for? Or do you do them for other industries?
Yeah, we do it. Realtors definitely like it, and then also like the property management and leasing companies. Some senior homes, depending on how big they are, if they have a couple of senior home marketing managers, they'll like that as well too. So I've had a couple of scheduled ones for that, but who doesn't like a free lunch?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And my high school economics teacher said there's no such thing as a free lunch, but you're buying their time to talk to them for 10 minutes, and
Right.
hopefully stay front of mind and build a relationship. And then once you start servicing somebody in that office's client or referral, and you do a good job, then the word pretty quickly spreads among the rest of them.
Yeah, it definitely spreads, and then our like Mailchimp campaigns, that's helped out a lot too. Just staying top of mind on there, so just hitting them from every single angle. I've actually got emails and voicemails like you're reaching out too much, but I'm like, hey, that's a good thing,
Yeah.
because we're staying top of mind, and they're basically seeing us, and we have a really big presence, so pretty much like an omnipresence.
Yeah, I love that. I tell our whole team, I would rather get a phone call from somebody angry that you're reaching out too much than no phone calls at all that don't translate to anything.
Right.
Because usually people, at least most solid business people, are going to be impressed with
Yeah.
the follow up and the reach out. So for that, 1 out of 10 that gets annoyed by it, screw them. We don't
Yeah, you
want to
don't
do
want to do
business with
business.
them
Yeah,
anyway.
you don't want to do
Yeah.
business with them anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, man. What struggles have you had in the moving business? I mean, just coming in cold with no moving experience. I know you had some
Yeah.
business experience.
So my biggest struggle, because I was never in the moving industry, was I scaled way too fast.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that, in summer, I think literally from 2019 to like 2020, I got a warehouse. I got like a 5,000, 6,000 square foot warehouse. I thought that, summertime, not knowing, I thought it was going to be like, I thought we just keep growing and growing and growing. I didn't know there was an off season.
Mm.
So boom, off season hit. And I'm like, where's all the customers? And I didn't have any foundation at the time, and it took me like 2 years to really understand that, because then after that, then you had the COVID boom.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, this is great. It's booming, growing the company. But yeah, scaling too fast and not really understanding your seasons on there.
Yeah.
So I was always in a tight crunch during the winter time, and I was like, man, like this is crazy. And I was like, so many times I just wanted to quit because I didn't know how to make payroll in the wintertime. So that was one of the main things, cash flow issues, right?
Yeah.
And then I, ended up eventually improving that, was able to get like a line of credit. So just to have it just in case during the wintertime. But
Mhm.
now that I have designers, they're typically busy during the wintertime.
Nice.
So that helps out a lot. And then my second biggest challenge is always going to be labor. labor trying to find, really good employees. You have to
Yeah.
have really high end employees essentially for the designers because they're moving like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, $40,000 couches.
Oh
So
yeah.
just making sure they're super detailed and that. And yeah, those were like the two main things that when I first came in, I just got slapped in the face.
Yeah. No, I've been there, man. I mean, sometimes we still are there. Like
Yeah.
it's a grind, and the
Yeah.
seasonality of this business is tough because you don't want to say no to work when it's there, and
Yeah.
and everybody wants to move at the same time, whether it's the end of the week, the end of the month, or the summertime, or combination of all three of those things. Like, and then you go through those periods, like the middle of January, where it's the
Yeah.
middle of the week in the middle of a month in the middle of the off season, and you got to learn to budget. You got to learn to
Yeah.
ask for those lines of credit when times are good, because nobody wants to give them to you
Yeah.
when they're not.
That's true.
They don't understand the moving industry and the seasonality of it, most banks. So that's something that unfortunately I think we're seeing a lot of companies go through right now with they thought COVID was going to last forever,
Yeah.
at least the boom that came from it,
Right.
and kind of came to a screeching halt not too long ago, and people over leveraged with trucks and warehouse space, and they want to keep their guys employed. They don't want to lose good people, but sometimes you got to trim the fat when things slow down. The market, you're subject to the market's demands
Right.
and the seasonal demands, and it's good that you found something like designers.
Right.
And we've gotten a little bit of that too. And Ed Katz is going to be talking on commercial work, which is another great way at the retreat. It's another great way to offset the summertime blue
Right.
or the wintertime blues coming out of the summertime. But the problem with that is that it's a year-round thing with the commercial work. So,
Yeah.
you got to almost build out a whole separate team for that. And it is a little different than residential, but if you haven't done a ton of commercial work, it's actually easier to do because you usually don't have to deal with stairs. Most of the stuff is just being rolled down hallways into a flat loaded truck, and you run a couple trucks back and forth. Ed Katz has a whole program called IOMI that will teach you everything you need to know about commercial stuff, how to get the jobs, how to quote them, how to service them. So he's a great resource on that front. But finding things, storage helps a lot too. You have that recurring revenue through the off season a lot of the times.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that like in the last year, residential, because of the interest rates and everything like that, has like shot down crazy. I've seen like moving companies left and right. I mean, you're in the moving company owner group and you see people shutting doors, and it's sad, but it's just, you have to learn how to pivot, and only the strong will survive.
Yeah. How's the market been in your part of the country? I know some areas have been affected worse than other areas. Florida has been, we've seen it a little bit here. I'm not going to say we're immune to it by any stretch, but it's been better than other parts from what I hear. What's it like in the Bay Area?
Yeah, so I think that we got a really big decline like at the end of 2022. And then 2023, I know that at least in the Bay Area, there was a lot of moving companies that shut doors. There's some moving companies that were down like 40, 50%. So it was tough. It was really tough. My girlfriend, she's actually a real estate agent. So I know firsthand like how the market is doing. So it was rough. It was really, really rough in 2023. But now it's picked up like crazy because I guess the interest rates are going to drop
Supposedly.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we're all
Supposedly.
hoping for.
Yeah. So, I mean, in January, we're up 30% year over year. Feb, 40%. March, we're on pace to be up 60%.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
And I think part of it too is you're creating your own economy. Like your growth is outpacing the economy's slowdown or the industry's slowdown. And you've found other things to market towards and to develop that generate revenue besides just homes that people are buying and selling.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our marketing during COVID, just as a collective industry, was just geared towards that. Like people would find us, we didn't have to find them.
Yeah.
And when that slows down and inventory dries up, I mean, there's always something you can do with trucks and a warehouse.
Yeah, for sure. And, I've used, what did I use? I've used Google Ads, Equate Media, all those things. They're really good at a certain time. And then just out of nowhere, it's like, and then it's like you're calling somebody and there's like, you're competing against 3-4 different moving companies and you're going to go with the cheaper moving company. Yeah. So I was like, man, let's go ahead, and I still had the sales reps, the phone works both ways, in and out. So I was like, let's go ahead and build this out. And we put in the work 2020, like the end of 2022 and 2023, because, that's really all we can do. And then it's really starting to pay off now. So I think it took like, 6 months to a year to really build out the that other division.
Yeah. What's different about interior designers? And like, I'm just curious, like, how do you, like, what's the best practices that you teach your sales team on how to farm that business?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that we do. A lot of interior designers, they're actually really big on social media because they're always like taking pictures of their place, their furniture, and everything like that. So that's one of the first places that we're going to connect with them, social media. And then, there's ASID, which is American Society of Interior Designers. So that's helped out. And then how else do we get the business there? And then we do a lot of email marketing and then my videos on Facebook. So since we have the list on there, we throw that list into Facebook ads and then it's a retargeting campaign and we pop up and I got a funny video where I'm just like dancing or something like that in one of the videos and then that catches their attention and then they click through. There's a landing page goes to another landing page and they get a gift certificate for $500 off. That's helped out a lot. So yeah, that's kind of how we get the business with interior designers on that side.
And do you do all that social media stuff in house, or do you have
Yeah,
a agency that you work with?
no, so I've get asked that a lot. I came up with a lot of the ideas just by watching social media, really understanding social media and some of the big influencers. But me and my videographer, we kind of come up with ideas and then we, put it out there, see what works, what doesn't work. Right now, we're in the process of kind of changing the landscape of our social media, how we're going to kind of present it and convey out the message now. But no, we don't work with a agency. A lot of the stuff is thought between me and my videographer
Hmm.
and we just see what works and what doesn't work.
Cool, man. Love to hear that. And we've worked with an agency. We just recently dropped them because I feel like the agency fees were like just obnoxious. Like we
Yeah,
were spending more on on the management fees than we were on the actual ad spend.
yeah,
And I was like, this just doesn't make any sense. So we've seen great success with SEO. That's been an ongoing investment for a decade that we've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into ultimately. And we're continuing to do that and build on the SEO. But I've been trying to crack the code of social media and
hmm,
Facebook. And I thought this agency could help us. And like in the summertime, the numbers looked really good, the way that they tracked the ROI. In the wintertime, they didn't look that good. So I'm like, well, is this because the social media stuff's working, or is this just because more people are moving?
yeah,
So that was something that, I kind of came to grips with and decided that, you know, it's probably not the social media stuff that's been working. And actually, since we stopped working with them, our sales have gone up. So
really,
yeah. And I think that's more related to the relationship building that we've been doing and just honing in on our sales process, making sure we had the right salespeople in place because uh, I think part of the slowdown for us was because we basically brought in like a whole new sales team.
uh huh,
We let go of people that were producing that just weren't getting along. Brought some of them back
yeah.
after we realized that just a whole green sales team wasn't making a ton of sense. But yeah, I mean that's the name of the game at the end of the day.
What did I mean? I've actually looked into some social media agencies and they charge an arm and a leg, like like $5,000-$10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And the ad spend, I've seen like a lot of people that they say they're going to do this amount of ad spend, and they're just taking the extra the extra thing on top.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I mean. The company we were working with for two locations was charging like $5,600 a month.
Uh huh.
We were spending like $1,000 to $2,000 on actual ads, and they're like, "Oh no, that's a pretty good spend there." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, what we're paying you guys, I feel like we should be paying more for this, and I'll pay more if it's gonna like turn the dial."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, no, I think we're good with what you got." And like, so that was like red flag number one.
Uh huh.
And then I talked to somebody who we're getting ready to start doing pay per click with and like
Yeah.
LSA and, all the Google stuff. And I was like, so, this is like what this social media agency wants to charge for retargeting. He's like, oh, no, we'll just throw retargeting in for you. And like, as part of like the management fees for the PPC stuff. So
Ah,
like, well, yeah, let's do that
no
then.
brainer, right?
Yeah. And we get a lot of visitors organically to our website each month because of the SEO work that we put in for just a lot of keywords that you wouldn't think of that people are looking up when they're thinking about moving.
Uh
So
huh.
we hit them early in like the sales cycle, like best schools in Tampa or safest neighborhoods or whatever. That like you're probably like good chance you're thinking about moving to whatever area has those things. How can we stay in front of those people? And retargeting is ultimately, I think, the answer
Right.
and doing that with Google and Facebook. So, but we've never, well, shouldn't say never. We've tried to do PPC and Google Guarantee and local service ads, which I guess is like the same thing as Google Guarantee now that I'm learning about it. And like some of those things with Google, and I've never really seen a great ROI on it in this market. But we're about to try it again.
Yeah.
Because I got a new person that it comes highly rated from some other companies that do like $1.5 million a year just from PPC or more, even depending. One of them is way bigger, and they have several locations, so they're doing more than that. But are you doing any pay-per-click like with Google or anything like that? Have you found success with it? Because I talk to companies all the time that like it's like their bread and butter, especially in the off season. They just turn that dial to get the phone to ring, and it's just never worked for us with the previous vendors that we've used.
Yeah, so I have the same exact experience like you. When I first did it, it worked good. I was getting a good return, and then like it just didn't work as well. And then I turned up Google Local Services. Google Local Services did better than Google Ads. I always thought it was supposed to be the other way around, but Local Services does well for me. In California, Yelp does well for me as well too.
Okay. So, I know that's big in San Francisco. That's where they're based, right?
Yeah. And I think they have an office now in Arizona as well too.
Okay.
So, I mean, it just depends on, at least for me, just depending on what area, because I hear people like say they hate Yelp, or on the East Coast, Yelp doesn't work at all or anything like that.
Never seen success here with Yelp.
Yeah.
We all hate it over here.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is your biggest referral source?
Right now it's affiliates. We've put a lot into that program, and the biz dev, just one outreach day. That's been getting a lot of traction. So affiliates, word of mouth, repeat business. Now that we've been in business for coming up on 14 years, we've got a pretty solid list of past customers that we send newsletters and stuff to. So those have been big, and just providing a good service. Organic SEO has been strong for us as well. We usually rank, at least in the map pack, very well, at least for the immediate geographical areas. So
you got a really big, a lot of competition.
Yeah, right? there's quite a bit, but I work with Mover Search Marketing, Brian Bloom's team, and they've done a great job for us. It's worked really well for our locations. So those are big ones. Postcards traditionally have been like the top one or two sources. It's definitely dropped down because there's just not as much activity going on with the buying and selling in the real estate market. But those are the big ones. Repeat, word of mouth, affiliate, referrals. And we kind of found like something that works in this market. I don't recommend it for every market unless you have a very similar type of thing, but it's there's a local radio morning show, and there's a guy that hosts it. It's called the MJ Morning Show, and he's been on the air since like the mid 90s, and he's got like an extremely loyal following, and his show used to be on the pop music station. Now that he's gotten older, it's on the 80s music station, which is like our demographic, like people that are 35 and up, they crush it, listening to 80s music on traditional radio, terrestrial radio, where the younger generation, like most people, like my girlfriend, she's 3 years younger than me and doesn't even touch the radio dial on her car. She hates it. She only listens to like Spotify and podcasts and stuff. But the older generation still does, and they still listen to morning drive talk radio. And this particular host has been doing it so long and has built such a following. I grew up listening to him. So, when I found out, he went off the air for a few years and then recently came back on the new station. And when I found out he was back on, I reached out because like I used to listen to him every day on my way to school. And we've been working with him for 2 years, and it delivers a solid return. It's not our highest ROI referral source, but it's good enough to keep doing it every month. So
that's great,
so that's been good, but I don't usually recommend other moving companies go on the radio, because before him, we never saw success on the radio. So,
did you do anything differently in 2023 since like it slowed down a bit? Or
we really didn't start to feel the slowdown until like September, October of this year. Or I guess last year, 2023. So that was where like everything just kind of screeched to a halt, and we had to cut some people go, have some difficult conversations with some salespeople, some operational people that were otherwise pretty good, but they weren't really fitting our culture. Either that, or we just didn't have the budget with things slowing down to keep them around. And there's a few factors that could have played into that. Obviously, coming into the off season with higher interest rates and just less postcard business and just home selling business. But that was right around when we had hired like a whole bunch of new salespeople that didn't really have a lot of sales experience, let alone moving sales experience. And we put them through all of our training and courses and met every day. And 3 out of the 4 people didn't end up working out because they just weren't producing. They were having a really hard time like getting the feel for it. And we brought back one of the people that we had let go, and he's been crushing it. And then one of those 4 people ended up crushing it. And then we had one guy that was with us the whole time. And so I'm wondering if it was like a sales issue that was going on when things slow down. I mean, no doubt about it, the home listings and the for sale and all that stuff has that piece has slowed down, but I think it was a combination with the sales department as well. So, we kind of cut back any marketing that wasn't producing a strong ROI and just focused on the stuff that was, and then just the affiliate and the relationship building. And things seem to be back on track. As far as bookings go, February was our highest February in bookings.
Wow.
And March is looking like it's going to be as well. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's promising.
That's good.
Promising. Yeah.
So I got to ask you this. I was wondering on the way over here, you've got 2 college brothers and, you're throwing the moving time retreat. And I was thinking like, how is Wade doing all this? Like he must have not, he's like probably going crazy. Like, what does your day to day look like?
Yeah. Well, I try to get up early. Like today, my alarm went off at 4:45. Mainly working on Titan Retreat stuff since it's 2 days away. So there's putting the final touches on the event. So today, for example, woke up 4:45, got up, fed the dogs. Probably don't want to hear about my whole routine there. Made coffee, sat down, took them for a walk, sat down in front of my computer, started working. When things are a little less crazy, I'll go to the gym a lot of times in the morning. Sometimes I'll go in the evenings, depending what's going on that day. Came in to the office today. Actually had a tailor meet at the office to give me some new threads for the retreat this week at 8 a.m. And then we had a news reporter stop by shortly after that. I worked for like an hour or two. News reporter came over to cover the Titan retreat and just get some footage and do some interviews, because I sent out press releases last week to all the reporters. I've got a spreadsheet with all the news reporters in our market. Probably needs to be updated. I made it about a year ago, but a lot of them are still active. And I think there's like 120 news reporters in our market. And so sent out a press release to all of them. And this one guy picked it up and reached out, met with me today. So we went out to a job site, met with a customer, did an interview with the customer, and then came back here and we had a Moving Titan Retreat meeting that we were doing when you walked in.
Yeah.
And then you came here to do a podcast.
There you go.
That's, a little atypical because of, the news story and the retreat coming up, but usually, kind of starts off the same. I'll, get up early. I'll either work on something like that's like my creative process time when the world's still asleep and nobody's going to bother me. And I'm just like the sharpest, clearest minded.
Yeah.
So if there's something creative I'm working on or trying to get caught up on, or a problem I'm trying to work through, or just writing or whatever, content, whatever it is, usually those precious morning hours between like 5 and 7 a.m. are like where a lot of that'll get done, or I'll go to the gym. And then on days where I come to the office, I've started to work from home more because I realized I'm spending like an hour to an hour and a half every day just driving to and from the office by the time I get, into traffic and stuff like that. So I told that to my team. I'm like losing like a full 40-hour work week a month just driving to and from the office. So I'm trying to work from home a little bit more, at least like 2 or 3 days a week now. And whether I come to the office or work from home, I'll usually spend like 8 a.m. to 10, 11 a.m. just doing kind of like task work, like emails, processing emails or something related to financials, looking at the accounts, looking at any bills that need to get paid, just that tedious like housekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
And then usually around like 11, 12, 1 o'clock, usually that's like we'll schedule meetings. Like we'll start a sales huddle at 11. We've been doing like a Moving Titan meeting every Tuesday at 1. I try to make Tuesdays and Thursdays like my meeting days, whether I'm recording like podcasts or just having meetings that I don't normally have every day, or if a vendor wants to meet with me, or somebody trying to sell me advertising or whatever, try to make it on those days.
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's just a lot of like admin or creative work typically.
Gotcha.
And then I usually wrap it up by like 4 or 5 o'clock. If there's a lot going on like there's now, I might work into the evening or go to the gym. And then my brain just dies at like 7 o'clock. As soon as the sun goes down, like it's Netflix time.
Yeah.
Like Netflix and chill time, like eat dinner, hang out with my girlfriend. So yeah, that's a pretty typical day in the life. I usually work Saturdays and Sundays on
Okay.
something. Like there's something that is more of like creative work typically. I'm not usually checking emails Saturdays and Sundays. If there's something urgent, they should have my number.
Yeah.
And we've got the ops team that handles like getting trucks out and stuff like that. So those are really good days to like work on something that requires like deep thought or creative or whatever. But I like to go out like on the boat too, or hang out with friends sometimes. But the last like 6 months I've been like grinding.
Yeah.
It's been a grind. So after we get through this event, my schedule opens up quite a bit.
That's great, man. Yeah, I was just wondering. I was like, man, he's got a lot of company that he's running.
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's always something going on too, but somehow, maybe I'm running a little too thin, but find time to get it done.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like I tell people like work is my hobby.
Yeah.
Like, boating's fun too, but like, gardening's fun. I play wiffle ball, like in a competitive wiffle ball league. So that's fun. But like sometimes my perfect Saturday or Sunday is like just working on something, like creating, building, whatever. So
great. Yeah. Love to hear it.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Something new all the time too. So
yeah, awesome.
Cool, man. Well, it's coming up on about an hour here. I don't really have any other questions off the top of my head. We'll be spending the next few days together, so I'm sure we'll have more conversations. Looking forward to having you for the retreat, and just really honored to get to meet you, the famous, the most followers of all influencers in the moving space, Steven Mandac. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
Joining me on the Greater Moving Company podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can't wait to have you on mine.
And just real quick too, how can people find you? You mentioned your podcast earlier, but like, what are your social media handles, or what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, best way to reach out to me is on Instagram _ Mr. Clutch.
Cool.
So that's pretty much where you can find me.
Right on. Well, give them a follow.
Awesome.
He's got a lot of them.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you'd like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan retreat, or interested in owning or working for a Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.